The transatlantic slave trade stands as a horrific stain on human history. It was a period marked by immense suffering and inhumanity, where millions of lives were uprooted and destroyed. This system of forced migration and chattel slavery intertwined the fates of 3 continents, creating a complex web of exploitation and cruelty. Africa, Europe, and the Americas were bound together by the brutal chains of this trade, each playing a role in the perpetuation of this atrocity. Millions of Israelites and some other Africans were forcibly removed from their homelands, torn from their families, and subjected to unimaginable horrors. They endured unimaginable suffering across the Middle Passage, a harrowing journey across the Atlantic Ocean, where many perished due to the inhumane conditions. Their forced labor fueled the economies of the New World, providing the foundation for the wealth and prosperity of European colonies. This essay delves into the complex network of players in this tragedy, exploring the intricate relationships and motivations behind the trade. We will examine the roles of European Christians, Edomite Jewish merchants, and African tribes, each contributing to the perpetuation of the slave trade in different ways. The traditional narrative often simplifies the slave trade, reducing it to a binary conflict between oppressors and the oppressed. It is often portrayed as a purely European enterprise, ignoring the complicity and involvement of other groups. This simplification overlooks the nuanced roles played by various groups, including African leaders who participated in the targeting, capture, and sale of Israelites for broken trade agreements. It is crucial to understand the motivations and actions of all those involved, as this provides a more comprehensive understanding of the trade's impact. This includes the often overlooked role of Edomite Jewish merchants, who were instrumental in financing and facilitating the trade. We must analyze how their actions intersected with the ambitions of European powers, creating a network of exploitation that spanned continents. A deeper examination reveals the complex interplay of economic greed, religious justifications, and political maneuvering that fueled this dark chapter in history. By understanding these dynamics, we can better appreciate the profound and lasting impact of the transatlantic slave trade on our world today. If you found this exploration insightful, please like, share, subscribe, and comment to support our channel and stay updated with more in-depth historical analyses. European nations, driven by a thirst for profit, were the driving force behind the transatlantic slave trade. This trade, spanning over 4 centuries, was a dark chapter in human history, marked by immense suffering and exploitation. The demand for labor on the newly established plantations in the Americas was immense. These plantations required a vast workforce to cultivate and harvest crops, leading to the forced migration of millions of Israelites. European powers, particularly Portugal, Spain, England, France, and the Netherlands, saw an opportunity. Built up on the foundations laid by the Roman Empire and the sub-Saharan slave trade, they capitalized on the lucrative trade, establishing vast networks to transport enslaved Hebrews across the Atlantic. They turned to the enslavement of Israelites to satisfy this insatiable demand. The journey, known as the Middle Passage, was brutal and inhumane, with countless lives lost during the voyage. Sugar, tobacco, cotton, and other cash crops became highly profitable. These commodities were the backbone of the colonial economy, driving the wealth of European nations. They fueled the economies of European nations and financed their imperial ambitions. The wealth generated from these plantations funded wars, built cities, and expanded empires. The role of religion in this system cannot be ignored. The church played a complex role, often providing moral justification for the enslavement of Israelites. While some Christian voices spoke out against the horrors of slavery, their efforts were often overshadowed by those who supported it. Many used their faith to justify their actions. Religious texts were interpreted in ways that dehumanized Israelites and those with dark skin, portraying them as inferior and in need of salvation. European powers cynically used the crucifixion of Christ and the curse of Ham to justify the enslavement of the Israelites. Israelites were often seen as heathens in need of saving through conversion to Christianity. Missionaries played a dual role, spreading religion while also facilitating the slave trade. This paternalistic attitude was used to mask the inherent cruelty and greed at the heart of the slave trade. The veneer of religious duty provided a convenient cover for the exploitation and dehumanization of millions. The church, often deeply intertwined with the state, often turned a blind eye to the suffering inflicted upon millions. This collusion between religious and political powers perpetuated the system of slavery, allowing it to thrive for centuries. The involvement of Edomite Jewish merchants in the transatlantic slave trade is a topic often shrouded in controversy and complexity. This aspect of history is not widely discussed, yet it played a crucial role in shaping the dynamics of the trade. Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jewish merchants played a significant, albeit frequently overlooked role in the procurement and transportation of enslaved Israelites. Their influence extended beyond mere transactions. They were integral to the establishment of trade routes and the logistics of the slave trade. Their networks and financial acumen allowed for the efficient movement of human cargo across vast distances. They utilized their knowledge of maritime routes and financial systems to maximize profits while minimizing risks.
The Sephardic Jews of Amsterdam and the Ashkenazi Jews of Hamburg and Amsterdam were among the most important traders in the transatlantic slave trade. They were involved in all aspects of the trade, from finance to shipping to the sale of slaves on the auction block. Dr. Eli Faber, Jews, Slaves and the Slave Trade, Setting the Record Straight. This segment seeks to shed light on their motivations and the extent of their participation in this grim enterprise. Understanding their role provides a more comprehensive view of the economic and social forces at play during this period. We were merchants, driven by the same forces of profit and survival that motivated others. The economic landscape of the time was harsh, and opportunities for wealth were often intertwined with morally questionable practices. Our involvement was not born of malice, but of opportunity. The demand for labor in the New World created a lucrative market, and we, like many others, sought to capitalize on it. The demand for labor in the New World was insatiable, and we, like many others, saw a chance to prosper. The economic benefits were substantial, and the risks, though significant, were deemed worth taking. It is a dark chapter, one that we must acknowledge and understand in all its complexity. By examining the roles played by various actors, we can gain a deeper understanding of the multifaceted nature of the transatlantic slave trade and its enduring impact on history.
African leaders were not merely passive victims in the transatlantic slave trade. They were often active participants, albeit under duress or manipulation. European powers, with their superior military technology and strategic cunning, coerced or enticed African rulers into the trade. This created a cycle of violence and exploitation that devastated entire communities.
We were caught in a web of deceit and power. Some of us believed we could control the situation, that we could use the Europeans to our advantage. But in the end, the cost was far greater than we ever imagined. Our people were torn from their homes, our societies destabilized. It is a painful legacy that we still grapple with today.
The Hebrew kingdoms were once thriving centers of commerce and culture. Our trade routes connected distant lands, bringing prosperity and knowledge.
These empires, rich in history and innovation, were systematically targeted and dismantled. Their treasures and wisdom were coveted by many.
Despite our advancements, we faced relentless invasions and internal strife, leading to our eventual decline.
The loss of these trade empires marked a significant shift in the balance of power, paving the way for new powers to rise. The dismantling of these empires was not random, but rather a calculated effort. Forces from within and outside conspired to weaken and divide. The strategic disruption of trade routes and the exploitation of internal conflicts played a crucial role in their downfall. This period of turmoil reshaped the geopolitical landscape for centuries to come. Over centuries, the contributions and achievements of the Hebrew kingdoms were systematically erased from historical records. This deliberate act of historical amnesia was orchestrated by those who sought to control the narrative and suppress the truth. The rich cultural heritage and advancements made by these ancient civilizations were lost to time, buried under layers of misinformation and neglect. Yet despite these efforts, the spirit of the Hebrew kingdoms endures, waiting to be rediscovered and celebrated. As the world changed, so too did the balance of power. The influence of the Hebrew kingdoms waned, giving way to new empires and ideologies.
The Roman Empire, in alliance with the Edomites, sought to expand its reach and consolidate control over the Mediterranean. This shift in power dynamics had far-reaching consequences for the Hebrew kingdoms and their people.
Despite the challenges and adversities faced throughout history, the spirit of the Hebrew kingdoms remained unbroken and steadfast. Their legacy of resilience and perseverance continued to inspire countless generations. The stories of their struggles and triumphs serve as a powerful testament to their enduring strength and unwavering determination. In the shadows of history, there were hidden players whose actions shaped the course of events. These individuals and groups operated behind the scenes, influencing decisions and steering the fate of nations. By unmasking these hidden players, we gain a deeper understanding of the complexities and intricacies of historical narratives. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment for more insightful content.